How many pages are included in an accessibility audit? Well, this is going to depend on your digital asset and what constitutes a representative sample of your digital asset. And keep in mind, it's not just pages that we're paying attention to, we're also looking at screens and potentially views. So when you think about a page, just think about a simple web page. When you think about a screen on a web page, this could be as simple as a pop up on a mobile app. Obviously, a mobile app is going to be entirely screens. And then views are when you have a different view within a page or a screen. So let's think about a page where there are different tabs within that page, and then we can tab to different content, different elements. And so in that case, we're going to have a view within the page. And for the audit, we're going to scope out everything and list that in the scope. So the number of total pages or screens is usually between 10 and 25 for most accessibility audits. This can be less, this can potentially even be more. After a certain point, so I have here after 50, go ahead and divide the audit into two audits. Otherwise, the audit is going to become overwhelming. You'll have too many issues to work through, and it's going to be harder to stay on track and stay organized. So at about the 50 marker, you definitely want to consider dividing it into two phases, an audit with two phases. But of course, as I mentioned, this can be more, it can be less. There's not one set count, but generally on the lower side for a website, you're looking at 10 pages, and that's if you have a very simple website with just some standard templates and layouts and then user flows. So 10 being the minimum, and then 25 being on the high side. And then when we look to really big projects, we're looking at 50, potentially even more. But you do have to be strategic about this and recognize the fact that if we're auditing 50 pages and or screens, then the likelihood that you get hundreds of issues back significantly increases. And so this many issues it just simply overwhelms many teams. So for that reason, I do recommend going ahead and looking at around the 50 marker as to where you divide it into two phases. And so the scope here is going to vary based on the digital asset, the layouts, the primary flows, the content, and the budget. So if you have a less of a budget, then just go ahead and opt for less pages and or screens and focus in on those that are the most important. So those that are going to be primary user flows, those that your users use the most often, those that are most trafficked. Focus on those first, and then you can come back later within another audit where you're looking at other pages and or screens. But you can definitely work down to your budget simply by reducing the scope, and you can still make a tremendous impact because with that scope, you're going to focus in on those pages and or screens that come up the most. But that's what we're looking at here. We want to get a representative sample. So we're typically not going to include pages with the same layout. We're not going to include the same type of content over and over again, but we do want to bring forward any unique content. So let's say there's a slider on one of your pages. The layout of the page is still the same, but then you have a slider. Well, we want to try to include that slider because that's something that a user can come across. We want to make sure that we account for the accessibility of that slider. So that's something that we would bring forward. Sometimes we'll include very similar pages or layouts or templates, and that might be because we want to have a more comprehensive audit, and that can be for documentation purposes. So right now I'm thinking specifically of a VPAT or ACR, where you really want to make sure that you have a comprehensive scope. And if it's just one or two pages that are similar, that are preventing the entire scope from being included, then we'll go ahead and include those. It will only be a nominal cost because, again, we've already covered that layout or that template, and so we're aware of the accessibility there. We're just bringing it forward to have a more comprehensive scope. So there's definitely some strategy involved here, but this is mostly intuitive. We're just looking for a representative sample of your digital asset, and so for that reason, usually the representative sample falls between 10 and 25 pages and or screens. So that is going to do it for this video. This is one of several videos on frequently asked questions we get about accessibility audits. I will include a link to the entire playlist in the description, as well as other resources to help you with your accessibility project. So we're going to stop here and we'll continue on with the next video.